Hey everybody, DemonOverseer here, and I am finding myself speaking in a video for the very first time. Insert applause here. Anyway, I'm going to give you a brief explanation as to why the characters you see before you are in my roster. I suppose the obvious starting point would be Toad. Toad is a very important, recurring, and iconic Mario character that has starred in several of the series games. He is in more current games such as Super Mario 3D Land and the upcoming game New Super Mario Bros. Wii U. There's really not much else to say besides the fact that he does have moveset potential and he is getting more and more recognition as a choice. Next up, we have King K. Rool representing the Donkey Kong franchise. He is a very important and recurring villain, and he will have a ton of moveset potential because of the variety in his fighting style between the games. He is also an insanely popular choice. The Legend of Zelda franchise is where I have made my first of 3 changes since my last update. That change is replacing Skull Kid with Impa. Impa has many more appearances and is overall just a more important character in general. She had a major role in Skyward Sword, and Skull Kid really doesn't have too much of a chance unless Majora's Mask gets a remake. Impa has a decent demand among the fans as well. I'm sure that many of my viewers are now asking themselves, then why did I keep Sheik if I added Impa? Because they're both Sheikah, many people will think that they will move and fight in similar fashions. Move, maybe, but I think that Sheik will focus more on long-range combat using projectiles like her needles, while Impa will be more in your face and then gone again. Moving on, we've got Ridley, representing Metroid. This will be quick. Ridley's not too big, the main antagonist, and insanely popular as a choice. Representing the Mother series, I have one of my more original choices, and that is the Masked Man. He's really pretty much the obvious third Mother rep, so really it's just a matter of whether Mother gets a rep or not. Now, arguably Porky would be the third rep, or Ninten, but we're not going to get 3 protagonist Psy users, I guarantee it. And Porky, he's just not very popular and he's a lot harder to make work. So Masked Man's all that's left unless you can find a way to put in Gygas. Alright, with the Pokemon section, I've done the standard replacement of Lucario with Zoroark, and I've also added Deoxys to represent the 3rd generation. If you follow the Pokemon main series pattern, Generation 3's remake is probably the next main project. Sakurai can easily anticipate the release date of the remake and program in Deoxys ahead of time. The reason Deoxys should be programmed in at all, though, is that he's basically the Mewtwo of Generation 3, representing everything he does besides the Generation of Origin, as well as the forms, which is now a recurring concept in the Pokemon franchise. For the Kirby section, I have chosen Bandana D as the 4th rep, and possibly the final, because if I'm right, Bandana D, representing the generic enemies and the helpers, I think he makes the series completely represented. I don't think there are any concepts missing. Regardless, he is a good choice as a standalone. He uses a spear, which is new, and is pretty much the obvious choice if you're looking for a new Kirby rep. It's debatable on whether Kirby should get a new rep or not, but I just find it more likely than not, so I put him in. Now, on to Crystal, representing Star Fox. Crystal's the obvious choice if you're looking for one. Like, most people put her in the roster just because she's female, popular, and uses a staff. Being popular, yes, is a reason to put her in, but that's pretty much all she has going for her. I don't see anything keeping her back, so if Star Fox gets a new rep, let's see Crystal in. Next, I have chosen Palutena to represent Kid Icarus. She is in all 3 games, playing a major role in all 3 of them, being Pit's main companion. She is showing fighting ability in Uprising using her wand. And she's heavily demanded. So she's pretty much a shoo-in unless Sakurai doesn't want to add another rep to Kid Icarus, which would be strange considering he adopted the franchise. With Fire Emblem comes the second of my 2 original choices, and that is Ephraim. Ephraim is from the Sacred Stones, which was a relatively unpopular game. Like, it wasn't very well received because of how different it was from the other Fire Emblem games. But that can be a little bit of merit towards him too, because one of the main reasons I put Ephraim in to begin with was because he was different. He's not like Marth or Ike. He's a green-haired lance user, and not a blue-haired swordsman. Sacred Stones got quite a bit of representation in Brawl, considering the size of the franchise. And it's brought up more relevance because of the Ambassador program. So now the characters are more well known. The characters are now also probably more popular. So Ephraim is probably now popular, different, well known, and yeah, popular, different, and well known. That's all we really need for a new Fire Emblem rep. With F-Zero, it's debatable on whether or not it gets a rep, and I think Sakurai said himself that if it does, it'll be Goro. And since F-Zero is being represented in Nintendo Land, and Goro's fairly heavily demanded, I think Goro's pretty much a shoo-in. Yes, I have Takamaru as well, a second katana user, but Goro would have more clumsy lashes, whereas Takamaru would have more timed attacks and skillful. For the miscellaneous and retro section, I have doubled the reps of those 2 combined, whereas we got 3 retro and 1 misc in Brawl. We now have 5 retro and 3 misc in my SSB4 roster. The 2 retro I added are Little Mac and Takamaru. Little Mac, like, he got a new game or a re-release on the Wii, which was very popular and gave him more moveset potential than when he was just an NES character. And Takamaru's getting represented in Nintendo Land and is becoming more and more popular as a choice. Isaac represents Camelot. More specifically, he represents Golden Sun, a fairly popular series with 3 games. Debatably, it should be Matthew, but I think since Isaac's appeared in all 3 games, he should appear as opposed to Matthew. Ray01 was the first Custom Robo protagonist released outside of Japan. Custom Robo has been a fairly popular series while not being one of the larger ones, but it's just nice to have one of the smaller series in there to represent them all. And with third parties, I've got Mega Man and Pac-Man. I don't think I need explanations for either of them. Demon Overseer, out.